Hello, welcome to White Tarot, where the reader is bubbly, but the readings can get dark. So I am going to do a general reading. It's kind of a whoever resonates with it resonates kind of thing, because I felt the pull, the spiritual itch, so to speak. All right, let's start with identifying with the Wild Unknown Animal Spirit Oracle deck who this reading applies to. Who is this for? My mat is hella furry right now because my cat Robin decided that this is her favorite place to nap. All right, let's see. Oh, interesting. The golden egg. The golden egg. Let's see here. Message at the center of the heart, the unstruck sound. Within the golden egg lives a precious sound. Deep within that sound resides a message. The sound cannot be heard nor the message discerned until we retreat from the noise of modern day life. The magical essence of the golden egg needs warmth, quiet, and time to unfold. No rushing, pushing, or grasping. Find a place of deep and restful ease, perhaps through yoga nidra or meditation. If you do not yet have a meditation practice, take some time for introspection or contemplation. When the mind begins to settle and the breath is calm, ask the question that weighs heaviest on your heart, staying open to any response you hear. Engaging with the energy of the golden egg is an advanced practice. It requires becoming intimate with our very essence and comfortable with vulnerability. When a feeling of tenderness or gratitude arises from deep within you, know that you are well on your way. Your chest may swell like you are seeing an old friend that's been away for a long, long time. Listen to the message they've been waiting to tell you. This feels like the reading that I am about to do is for someone who may be feeling a little out of touch with themselves at the moment. There were a lot of bells ringing when I was reading that, and the feeling that I got was almost like someone that is being tumbled around in the tides of existence. The tough thing about being a human with material needs is that those material needs are not really negotiable. I mean, we need food, we need a place to sleep, we need shelter. There are things that we need that, for the majority of us, we have to spend a lot of time and energy detached from ourselves in order to obtain. And it feels like someone's trying to hold on to their spirituality, their heart, their creativity, the things, the essence of them. But it almost feels like a wisp, like a smoke, evasive. That's kind of how this feels. It's like you're so caught up in the day to day, the things that you need to do, your chores, your job, and you need a hard reset because right now you're on autopilot, you're in survival mode, and you're aware of that fact that you need that hard reset. You need a moment outside of that mode to get back in touch with yourself, because you're losing sight of who you are and what you want. Because those spiritual and emotional needs are just as valid as your physical ones. But the way that we exist doesn't really leave much room for that. Even in the, I guess we could call it now, the spiritual industry, there are a lot of people who do readings that don't really come from a place of integrity. Hi, Casper. Um, they're basically doing what sells. There are people that produce things, products geared towards spiritual people. But the truth is that spirituality costs no money. That is something that I'm going to get more into when I start to produce more of the talky videos where I'm not doing a reading, I'm just talking about some of my spiritual insights. But anyway, don't let me go too deep, too far out on a tangent. Let's get into it. For the person who feels like the golden egg. Wow. Hold on. Deck just exploded. Maybe that represents the pressure that they're feeling right now, because growth feels like pressure. Right before every growth spurt, there's a period of discomfort and pressure. Okay. All right. In front of me, I see two paths that this person, you, are standing right in between. What sparked this path, what created this split, it feels like something happened to you that was different from your normal way of operating. It's like you've gone years operating a certain way with a routine. You had your status quo, but it was standing on a faulty foundation, and it was never meant to be sustainable, but it was working for you. So you kept at it, you stuck with it. But deep down, you knew that that was not how you wanted to live your life. And then something happened that suddenly made the way you've been operating feel like a burden. It made what was normal to you for the longest time suddenly feel heavy. And now you find yourself at the fork. And these different paths that you can go, I see the Nine of Wands, and that's about climbing up and out of the dark. Judgment, making a decision, having an epiphany. The Emperor also represents Aries in the tarot. And the Father of Wands, which to me in this deck feels like a very, he likes to keep things kind of surface level, but not in a lighthearted way. It's almost like he's fiercely protective of the deeper stuff that happens inside of him. This path to me feels like the way in which you've always overcome difficulty. It feels like suppression. It feels like stoicism. It feels like spiritual bypassing toxic positivity. It feels like saying, I'm fine when you're not, pretending to be fine because you'd rather maintain your image than actually heal. But that creates a lot of gunk inside of you. But this path feels smoother to go through. It feels more natural to you. That feels like what you've always done. When you were faced with something difficult, you sit in it just long enough to feel it, but not long enough to actually process and heal from it. And then you run towards distractions, run towards things that give you instant gratification, whether it be buying new toys, buying new things, spending money, or just pretending that you don't feel anything anymore. But the Five of Wands is here between the two paths to indicate a conflict. And this feels like inner conflict, as if though that path was always what came naturally to you, It doesn't feel natural anymore. It feels forced. Underneath the Five of Wands, we have the Father of Cups. And he is about nurturing the self. He's also depicted as a swan. For some reason, it's coming to mind right now that swans mate for life. When they lose their mate, a lot of them die of a broken heart. The Father of Cups feels like the reason why there is conflict between these two paths. Take that how it resonates. Let it reverberate. Something, this Ten of Wands here, touched something inside of you. It struck a chord that hasn't been played in years, is what this feels like. Now, the other path starts with the Hermit, as opposed to the Nine of Wands, which is about climbing up. This Nine of Wands in this other path feels hasty because it was the first card to come out from the Ten of Wands. And I know they come in succession backwards, but it felt too soon. It didn't feel like enough processing time. But as opposed to that, we have the Hermit in the other path, and that is about turning inwards. That is about gaining wisdom from within. We also have the Son of Pentacles, who is a shy character in this deck. He tends not to have too many friends. So this tells me that as you're becoming a different version of yourself that feels more deeply, or if you go down that path of becoming that way, maybe there's a part of you that fears that if you come out changed, you'll be harder to relate to. You won't have the support system that you think you need, because the people around you likely won't be able to meet you at the depths towards which you want to go or that you are being pulled to go. Because as we grow, as we become more complex, as we explore our own depths, there are things within ourselves that we can't unsee. There are things about ourselves that we can't unknow. Casper? No. And it is true that the more we grow, the more we change, the more we get back in touch with ourselves, our individuality, and we become these complex beings, the harder it gets to relate to others, the harder it gets for others to relate to you. But I've found, because I am blessed with a lot of good people in my life, I've found that the authenticity comes first. You have to first be brave enough to stand alone if you have to, in your integrity and your authenticity. And that is how people will find you. I went through a period of time, a long, long time, of being completely alone. And as I healed, as I took that time to be the hermit, when I finally decided to come out into the light again, I found people that saw me bare and as I was, as I am, and opened their arms. And there were just as many people who rejected me, ostracized me. And that's how you learn to love yourself unconditionally. When you are able to take that rejection and say, but I would rather continue to be myself. I would rather protect what I have grown. The work that I have done is sacred, and I will never lose sight of that for the sake of keeping someone else that can't even see me fully. That's how you grow and nurture self-love. It's not about refusing to change. It's not about refusing to grow. Take me as I am. It's a double-edged sword. But your fear that if you come out changed, that you'll be alone, it's not true. You're alone right now. You're alone right now because there's a part of you that's in hiding. You're assimilating. You're not connecting. You're camouflaged. You're in hiding. You don't need to fear being alone because you already are alone. What you will find when you grow unapologetically, who you will find there are the people that can connect with you. And maybe what I just said is exactly this hangman here about seeing things from a different perspective. Casper, I know you're adamant about getting on this table, but you can't do that. Anyway, and then we have the Mother of Pentacles. She feels like, let me get this cord out of the way. Mulder, do you think you can hold on to this? Mulder is my other assistant. He is the manager of the cords. I just assigned him that job title. I'm just gonna hook this onto your pelvic bone. How's that? That'll work. Thank you, Mulder. Sorry I touched your parts. Um, the Mother of Pentacles. She feels like home. She feels familiar. And she reminds me of a kitchen with a window that lets the sun in. And that feels like your reminder to go home. Go back to yourself. That doesn't mean withdraw. That doesn't mean isolate. That means who were you before the world got its hands on you? As you can see, she also has a baby curled up next to her. And that almost feels like what's going on inside of you. There was a version of you when you were a child, right before your first ever heartbreak, that is calling to you again. Right now, for you, doesn't feel like a time to be reaching externally for distractions or instant gratification or comfort. It feels like the soil inside of you is very fertile. And if you let it happen, if you allow yourself to sit with it through the discomfort of this growth and how scary it can be to change on such a fundamental level, it feels like that's where you'll find your magic. We have the Nine of Cups, and that is as happy as you can be on your own. And in the outcome, we have the Magician, along with the High Priestess. And these feel like, not only do they feel like a version of yourself that you can become, magical, intuitive. I know that these two are not divine counterparts in the deck, but the Magician is a master of manifestation. He is an alchemist. And he is magical. And the High Priestess is intuitive. She's wise. Wisdom comes from so much experience in being brave enough and willing to dive deeper than the surface. And power comes from self-love. Manifestation comes from the willingness to embody what you want, to rise to meet the vibration of what you envision for yourself. Manifestation is not about sitting back looking pretty and waiting for things to fall into your lap. That's not how it works. You become what you want. You want love, then become love. You want wealth, you want abundance, then become wealth and abundance. The Magician feels like he represents your willingness to grow. He feels like the realization that you are more malleable than you give yourself credit for. You can teach an old dog new tricks. We aren't set in our ways of being unless we make ourselves so. We can become whoever we want on any random Tuesday. We can just decide, I want to be more open. I want to be a softer person. I want to be kinder. I want to be more loving. I want to live in integrity. We can decide that and we can do it. It just takes a lot of intentionality and awareness. The reason why I mentioned that I know that they're not divine counterparts is also because they feel like they go together anyway. This feels like something that you're going to find at the end of this path. You're going to find like minded people. You're going to find someone that enhances your own magic. You're going to find someone that makes you want to pour yourself into them. And they will do the same for you. You're going through the process of unraveling, and you're going through the process of opening yourself to growth, to love, to vulnerability, to connection. That's why you didn't come out as an animal. You came out as an egg. You're gestating. And once you hatch, you'll find yourself and you will find people in which you can find little bits of yourself as well. So, I hope this resonated with someone. Um, as I briefly mentioned earlier, my style of reading is a little bit different than what many people who engage with TarotTube or TikTok readers might be used to. I'm a little slower. And that's because messages, for me at least, they don't come out bam, bam, bam. They're slow and they're whispers. And I listen and I feel. So I know it's a little different the way I do things, but if you like what you saw here today, please do like, share, subscribe, comment, support the channel in whatever way you're willing to, because I am a brand spanking new channel, and I will be pumping out readings like this as I feel pulled to do so. But I will definitely see you in at least 2 weeks for the second half of September All Signs readings. All right. Thanks. Bye.